Chapter 354, The Crying Phoenix to Xiaoqing. It is late now. Let's go back and rest. Feng Ruking's eyes narrowed. The most important thing now was obtaining the 5 spirit grass and leaving the Tang family as soon as possible. On top of a mountain, the clouds were white like heaven on earth. A young girl in white sat beneath the clouds. There was a soft spiritual qi all around her. After a while, she exhaled a polluted breath before opening her eyes slowly. A white phoenix appeared from the sky when the young girl opened her eyes. The phoenix cried and rushed toward the young girl. Suyi, your son has gone too far. Has done too much. The white phoenix cried endlessly. It seemed that he had endured great pain. His tears ran down like a waterfall. He was infuriated. He has taken all the things from the treasure hall. How dare he takes all the things from there? Suyi was stunned. She smiled helplessly. He has taken the things for his fiancée and not for himself. It's fine. The white phoenix was stunned. He stared at Suyi in disbelief. Nanxian has taken all things from the treasury and Suyi just said that it is fine. The white phoenix could not help but cry even more. Don't you know how bad he was? I'm so sad that he has taken all the things from the treasury. That bastard has even taken out a porcelain bottle that holds my tears. Isn't it too much? He is criticizing and humiliating me. He must be jealous of my beautiful feathers and my large body. He must have done it intentionally. Suyi was stunned. She did not know that Nanxian would act like that. She felt rather helpless. He might have his own reasons for doing that. The white phoenix pointed angrily but helplessly at Suyi with his wings. You're just protecting your son. You bully me like this because of your son. I feel outraged. You can't make it up to me anymore. All right. Suyi seemed calm. I'll leave the mountain after some time. Leave the mountain? The white phoenix was stunned. He had forgotten that he was crying. He stared at Suyi. Are you really leaving? Is it because you don't want me anymore? Are you leaving me behind? Suyi, don't tell me that you're going to look for that man who has left you behind for another woman. I won't allow it. I prohibit you to go and look for him. Suyi laughed softly. Him? Do you think that he'll leave the mountain just because of him? Really? The white phoenix looked at Suyi skeptically. Of course, that's true. He has another woman now. For sure he does not need me anymore. He also has other children. Nanxian will not go back there again. So, why should I go and look for him? I'm going to meet Nanxian's fiancé. What Suyi wanted was a loyal companion for life. She could love bravely before because of that promise. But, she would not tolerate it anymore after the promise was broken. The white phoenix asked suspiciously, is Nanxian really getting married? Will she like me? Suyi smiled happily. All the things in your treasury were given to her. If you're generous, she might like you. The white phoenix was ecstatic. That's my future family. Although Nanxian treats me badly, I know that he likes me. If Nanxian's wife does not like me, then I'll have no reason to stay anymore. Why do you want her to like you? Suyi smiled and asked. White Phoenix could not explain himself. Why? Of course, the reason is because of Suyi. But, the White Phoenix was still too young to assume a human form. Suyi would never like him in this state. Chapter 355, The Crying Phoenix 3. The White Phoenix would be able to be together with Suyi if he was able to transform into a human. In your family. Surely I want her to like me. The White Phoenix raised his chin proudly. Moreover, I'm beautiful and generous. Of course, she will like me. So, it's fine if I gave her the things in the treasure room. The White Phoenix's heart was aching when he said that. Those are my treasures which I have stored for 20 years. 20 years is not a short time even if we spirit beasts could live for a long time. Now, they are all gone. All gone. Suyi, when are we leaving? The White Phoenix flew around Suyi. There was excitement and happiness in his voice. Suyi smiled and asked, do you want to go with me? Of course. I can protect you if that bastard annoys you. Moreover, the White Phoenix wanted Nanxian's fiancé to know about his existence in this family. Well, leave the mountain once I make a breakthrough. Su Yi's eyes narrowed. The calmness in her eyes was replaced with coldness. It's been 20 years. I have hidden here for 20 years. Now, it's time for me to leave. I'll take revenge for what Nanxian and I had suffered before. I'll never go easy on those people who had hurt us. The mountain behind the Tang family. Rong Yang lay on the bed. She looked pale and was too weak to get out of the bed. Tang Luo rushed there immediately. He felt that his heart was being pricked by a needle when he saw how weak Rong Yang seemed. It was painful. Yang, Tang Luo walked to the bed. Are you sick? Initially, Rong Yang was injured. Tang Luo had forced her to stay and gave her some medicine when her injuries were not healed. That was how Rong Yang had lost her memories. Therefore, Rong Yang's body became very weak because there were old and new injuries in her body. For warriors, getting sick was rare. They would not get sick easily even if they used their spiritual qi to get warm. But Rong Yang became like a normal person after that incident. She would get sick easily when she was cold. But she liked quietness. She did not allow anybody to wait on her. 20 years ago, Tang Luo ordered a maid to go and look after her. But Rong Yang made her leave. Hence, he never sent anybody to look after her anymore. Fine. Rong Yang's throat was dry. You don't have to worry about me. Tang Luo sighed softly. The Tang family faced some issues these past 2 days. So, I did not come and visit you and don't know that you're sick. Rong Yang did not say anything. She lowered her head. She was quiet and normal when she did not think of her own son and daughter. But she would go maniac when she thought about them. The Tang family obtained only a 5-spirit grass and yet it caused so much trouble. Tang Yi and Tang forced me to give the 5-spirit grass to Feng Ruqing. If not, Tang Yin will leave the Tang family. However, Yue wanted to give the 5-spirit grass to Feng Yun Manor because she wanted to please Feng Yun Manor. What should I do? Tang Luo laughed bitterly when he finished talking. You don't know anything about this. I shouldn't have told you this when you're sick. Feng, are you, Qing? Rong Yang's hand clenched her chest tightly. Her face was pale. There was great grief in her eyes. It sounds so familiar. That name is familiar. Why? Why is it so familiar to me? It hurts. Chapter 356. Feng Ruqing was shocked. Yang, which one do you like? A son or daughter? If she's a daughter, she must look like you. I'll give her all the love in this world. She must be the most exceptional girl in this world as she is my daughter. Yang is so outstanding that our daughter must be very exceptional too. When she's born, we will name her Ruqing. What about that? Feng Ruqing. A girl who is so exceptional that she is unbeatable in this world. There were multiple voices in Rong Yang's mind. Those voices were clear at first but they became rather chaotic toward the end. Rong Yang vomited a mouthful of blood and she fell forward on the bed. Yang. Tang Luo was shocked. He quickly went and held Rong Yang's body. There was anxiety in his eyes. Yang, what's wrong? After a while, Rong Yang recovered her senses. There was a smile on her pale face. It's okay. I'm just sick. I'll be fine after a few days. If you want the 5-spirit grass, I have it. Can I go and give it to her? In fact, Rong Yang did not understand the reason why she wanted to give the 5-spirit grass to Feng Ruqing. But she knew clearly that she would regret it if she did not give it to Feng Ruqing. Tang Luo looked at the eagerness in Rong Yang's eyes. He was suspicious. Yang never liked strangers. Yue had also spent 10 years with her before Yang accepted her. Why did Yang mention that she wants to meet that girl? Tang Luo remembered the resemblance between Rong Yang and Feng Ruqing. He lowered his eyes. Then, he used his gentle voice and said, Yang, you're sick now. You can easily transmit the disease to others. You don't want that, do you? Rong Yang was stunned. She lowered her head despairingly. I don't want to transmit my disease to that girl. Moreover, she's here in Tang residence. Shall not leave. I'll bring you to meet her when you're feeling better. Is that okay with you? Rong Yang's eyes brightened at this. She smiled beautifully. Fine. Rong Yang did not see the coldness in Tang Luo's eyes at that time. You can take the 5 spirit grass. Rong Yang took out a 5 spirit grass from her storage bag. Then, she put it in Tang Luo's hand. Tang Luo looked at the 5 spirit grass in his hand. He was having mixed feelings. He never thought of resolving the issue with Yang's help. All right. Tang Luo held the 5 spirit grass in his hand gently. There was deep darkness in his eyes. But, it was not shown on his handsome face as it was covered with a gentle smile. Yang, would you marry me after this incident? Rong Yang looked at Tang Luo blankly. I've got a husband and children. Why do I need to marry you? Tang Luo had difficulty in breathing. He stayed by her side for 10 years and still he could not beat the man in her memory. Even though she had forgotten about him, Tang Luo still did not dare to force her. Rong Yang was still strong and determined even though she had lost her memories. There was a great determination in her even though she was crazy sometimes. The result might not be pleasant if Rong Yang was forced. It's okay, Yang. I don't ask for anything much in this life. I just hope that you'll stay by my side forever, and not leaving me behind. Tang Luo closed his eyes slowly. After a short while, he opened his eyes and got up from the bed. He did not know what he was afraid of. He was nervous that Rong Yang would leave him behind when she met Feng Ruqing. So, he came to Rong Yang and intentionally mentioned Feng Ruqing's name. Rong Yang's reaction made him even more cold and distant. Something dark appeared in his eyes. Chapter 357. Feng Ruqing was shocked too. No one can take her away from me. No one can do that. Tang Luo put Rong Yang to bed. Then, he took the 5 spirit grass and walked down the mountain. The young girl's beautiful face came into this vision when he walked into the manor. There was a soft smile on the girl's face. She was combing Tang Yin's hair with both of her hands. Tang Yin was like a little wife. She put her head on the girl's lap. She looked up at the young girl who was stroking her hair. Her eyes were shining. Tang Luo was stunned. It seemed weird to be in this kind of situation. Tang Yin was the Tang family's hope. Not only was she Nanxian's fiancée, but she also had a better status in the Tang family compared to Tang Yu, and it was all because of her special physique. If Tang Yin wanted to side with Feng Ruqing, Tang Luo needed to be careful when he wanted to do something to Feng Ruqing. Why are you here? Tang Yin was enjoying the moment. Suddenly, she saw Tang Luo who was standing at the entrance. Tang Yin was rather dissatisfied and she snorted. It might be because of her annoyance at Tang Luo's disruption. Tang Luo was infuriated but he still smiled gently. Yinna, I've brought you the 5 spirit grass you wanted. Tang Yin's eyes brightened. She quickly got up and left Feng Ruqing's lap. Finally the 5 spirit grass is here. We can now leave the Tang family and go on living our happy life. Where's the 5 spirit grass? Tang Yin stretched out her hand at Tang Luo. She was rather rude. She hated the Tang family as much as she loved the Tang family before. Tang Luo could not suppress his emotions anymore. His lips twitched, then he suppressed his emotions again. Tang Luo was not a stupid person given that he could become the master of the Tang family. If he did not hand over the 5 spirit grass, peace would not be restored to the Tang family and Tang Yin would surely leave the Tang family. It'll be resolved if Yue retrieves the 5 spirit grass. But, we've promised Feng Yun Manor. If we took it back, Feng Yun Manor would surely be angry at the Tang family. Hence, he decided to take the 5 spirit grass which was given by Rong Yang and give it to Tang Yin after much consideration. Tang Yin took the 5 spirit grass and ran toward Feng Ruqing happily. Xiao Qing, faster, come and check this out. Is this the real 5 spirit grass? If he dares to bring a fake one to us, I'll definitely avenge you. Tang Luo did not know what to say. As the master of the Tang family, Tang Luo would never use a fake spirit herb and lie to others even though he disliked Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing raised her hand and put the 5 spirit grass in her hand. There was a flash of light in her eyes. Master, are you telling the truth? A few elders had just received the news and they had rushed here just in time to hear Tang Luo's angry statement. Tang Yi did not seem to look well. Tang Yi respected Feng Ruqing for Yina's sake. But he would not allow any harm to come to Yina. Young lady. But Tang Yi did not believe what Tang Luo had said. He turned to look at Feng Ruqing. He asked, "Is what the master has said the truth?" Feng Ruqing thought for a while. She indeed did relentlessly cling on to the state preceptor. If we're talking about the same person here, then it's the truth. Tang Luo was already prepared, in case Feng Ruqing refused to admit to the truth. But he never thought that she would admit it in front of everybody. He was stunned and he did not know how to respond to that. Chapter 359, Feng Ruqing was shocked for yes, that's right. I not only clung on to him but I have also hugged him, kissed him, touched him, and slept with him. Feng Ruqing smiled. They did sleep together but they had only slept under the same quilt. They did not do anything else. Tang Luo was shocked again. The elders of the Tang family were equally shocked. They looked at Feng Ruqing with their eyes full of hatred. Shameless. You cannot enter the Tang family given that you're such a shameless person. Yina, this is what they said would happen when you do not listen to your elders. Now, do you regret it? She approached you all because of young Master Nanxian. Do you still want to be with her? Tang Luo was stunned for a while. He recovered his senses and he smiled coldly. He stared scornfully. Feng Ruqing, young master would never have a relationship with you. How dare you say that he had slept with you? I heard that Nanxian hates you so much but it's you who cling on to him relentlessly. If you're really treating him like that, you should be dead by now. He turned to Tang Yin after he said that. Yina, do you see now? She approached you because she wants to take your fiancé from you. Tang Yin was nervous and anxious after Tang Luo had uncovered the truth. Tang Yin still did not know how to explain to Feng Ruqing when Tang Luo's sarcastic voice spoke again. Tang Yin was infuriated. Nonsense. Don't you incriminate me. What fiancé? Since when did I have a fiancé? Why do I not know anything about that? Tang Yin insisted that she did not know anything about that affair. She wanted to prove that those people were just making things up. Yina. Tang Yi was quite shocked. Yina told us that she's going to marry young Master Nanxian before. Now, why is she saying that she knows nothing about that? I haven't even met Nanxian. How could you look for a fiancé for me without asking for my permission? Did I say yes? How is it possible that I would want to marry a stranger? The others did not know how to respond to that. Didn't you say that Nanxian was both gentle and handsome? You even said that you like him. Nanxian is a vixen. He dares to take the woman I like away from me. It's impossible that he'll be the fiancé to a vixen. Tang Yin blushed. If it is not for my inability to beat Nanxian in a fight, that vixen would never be able to approach Xiaoqing. The others were silent again. This seems weird. How did the events all lead up to this? She even called young Master Nanxian a vixen. She does not want him to be around Feng Ruqing. I couldn't train fast enough before because of the problem with my body. We were afraid that people might notice my sudden improvement. That's for my safety. I had listened to you. But I regret it now. I want to train harder. I want to beat that vixen, Nanxian. Tang Yi looked helplessly at Tang Yin's angry face. His eyes were filled with confusion. He asked, Yina, are you sure that you don't want to marry young Master Nanxian? I don't even know him. Why would I marry him? I want to marry the person I love. But you said that you won't marry anyone else other than Nanxian before. Tang Yi seemed to realize something. He looked at Tang Yin with complicated feelings. Then, he turned to look at Feng Ruqing. He sighed softly. It's fine as long as Yina is happy. Just let her have her way. All of a sudden, the way how Tang Yi looked at Feng Ruqing changed. It was calm and serene before. But, now, it seemed like Tang Yi was looking at his grandson-in-law. Feng Ruqing was shocked the whole time. What happened? What am I doing? Where am I? Chapter 360. This is a setup. Feng Ruqing turned around and looked at Tang Yin. Are you Nanxian's fiancé? Feng Ruqing's hesitant stare turned Tang Yin's face pale. She was so anxious that she stomped her feet hard on the floor. No, it's impossible. It's a set-up. Feng Ruqing was shocked. You approached me before just because of Nanxian? She knew that Tang Yin came with some purpose. But she had never thought that it was all because of Nanxian. Now, Feng Ruqing could finally see the whole picture. Tang Luo did not know what to say. Isn't Feng Ruqing the one who approached Yina because of Nanxian? How is it that it was Yina who approached Feng Ruqing because of Nanxian? Tang Yin was stunned. Her large eyes seemed to reflect her helplessness. Who is Nanxian? I have just heard that name today. This is all made up by them. I know nothing about this. No one said a word. You said that you don't know who Nanxian is. But you could say that you can't beat him. Now you even know how to foretell things. Tang Yin stared at Tang Luo angrily. I called you uncle before because I really treated you as my elder. I didn't know that you would frame me like this. Xiao Qing has promised to give you 1,000 grade 4 spirit herbs. Now, I'll make the decision for her. I don't want to give you those spirit herbs anymore. Tang Luo kept quiet. What did I do? Tang Luo just wanted to show Yina Feng Ruqing's true colors so that she would know who is really treating her with a pure heart. It was the Tang family. But who can tell me what's really happening here? Why is it different from what I expected? Master Tang Yi. Tang Wu and the others turned to look at Tang Yi. They were angry. Quickly advise Yina. How could she be like that? What will happen to the Tang family if she does not marry young Master Nanxian? Yina must be young Master Nanxian's fiancée. Nobody can snatch young Master Nanxian away. She's a woman from the secular world. A woman like that does not even have the right to be young Master Nanxian's concubine. She has even made things up. Master is right. Nanxian hates her so much, so it's impossible that they would ever sleep together. She must have used some tactics that had made Yina lose hope in young Master Nanxian. The elders in the Tang family looked at Feng Ruqing like she was a vixen who snatched others' husbands. Their stares were filled with anger, hatred, and scorn. Tang Luo recovered his senses. His eyes were cold. Yina, you're captivated by her today. I prohibit anybody from snatching your fiancé. Tang Yin's physique was special, but this uniqueness would kill her before she had the chance to grow up. If she could stay under the protection of that power, Tang Yin would have enough time to grow up. Then, the Tang family could move higher status in the future. But what if she lost the identity as the fiancée of young Master Nanxian? Then, Tang Yin would become a nobody. She could never have any place here in this reclusive world even with her uniqueness. Master. Tang Yi frowned. He moved fast and soon he stood in front of Feng Ruqing and Tang Yin. She's just a young girl. Why are you sticking up for her? Tang Luo laughed coldly. Tang Yi, you stood against me before for Tang Zi. You forced me to let her leave. Now, you want to stand against me again just for that young girl whom you have never met before. Tang Zi. Those two words were like thunder and they exploded in Feng Ruqing's mind. It's real. Tang Zi does come from this Tang family. These people had harmed Tang Zi deeply before. They had even labeled her as a traitor. Chapter 361. This is a setup too. Is Tang Zi a traitor? Nonsense. Empress Nailin had been dead for many years. The original master did not understand the situation. Even so, Tang Zi had endured all the hardships and she had never given up. How is it possible that Tang Zi is a traitor? Tang Yin was stunned too. It was impossible that Tang Yin did not know about Tang Zi, who had served in the Iron-Blooded Army. But she had never guessed that Tang Yin came from the Tang family. It seemed that Master Tang Yi was the one who had protected Tang Yin that year when she was being harmed by the Tang family. Xiao Yin. Tang Yin turned and she was met with a pair of cold and distant eyes. There was a deep anger in the young girl. The wind all around had become wild too. Feng Ruqing was like a fierce lion. Tang Yin had never seen Feng Ruqing like that. But her being like that could calm people down. Tang Yin bit her lip and she held Feng Ruqing's hand. It was like her actions showed that she would always stand by Feng Ruqing's side no matter what happened. Forever. Never give up. Master, all that I do is for Xiao Yin's sake. Tang Yi had his own decisions. He could choose not to believe Feng Ruqing. He also would never believe in Tang Yin. Maybe, there's really something between young Master Nanxian and Feng Ruqing. Tang Yi searched for a partner for Tang Yin before because he wanted a strong force as a protection for her. If Feng Ruqing did have some kind of relation with young Master Nanxian, then maybe Feng Ruqing could protect Tang Yin too. Tang Yi sighed softly. Xiao Yin, I can only do this much for you. If you don't like the Tang family, then just don't ever come back here, Tang Yi. Tang Luo's facial expression changed suddenly. He scolded angrily, Tang Tang Sai, Tang Wu, go and take Yina away. I don't want her to turn rogue. Elder Tang San was ordered to go and look for Tang Yu as he was not at the Tang family at the moment. There were only 4 elders in the Tang family. It was apparent that Tang Yi wanted to side with Tang Yin. Tang said nothing and did nothing. It seemed that he had ignored Tang Luo's command. Tang Sai and Tang Wu were prepared and ready. They walked toward Tang Yin. Stop. Tang Yi was outrageous. The wild wind blew at his sleeves. There was a determination in Tang Yi's eyes. I am here today. No one can touch Yina. He turned and looked at Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing, just take Yina away from the Tang family. I could hold them here. Feng Ruqing seemed calm. There was no emotion which Tang Yi could see in her seemingly calm black eyes. He continued talking. I just ask for a favor. Please take care of Yina for me. I'll let you leave without a scratch today if you're able to take good care of her. Yina was not Tang Yi's granddaughter, but Tang Yi treated her like one because it was he who had taken care of her since young. Tang Yi was also the only person who treated Tang Yin with a true heart in the Tang family. Tang chose Tang Yin because of his strong friendship with Tang Yi. Feng Ruqing was still silent. There seemed to be a great storm in her seemingly calm eyes. She raised her eyes and scanned all the people present there. Suddenly, there was a cold sneer on her face. I came to the Tang family for a deal. Now, it seems that this reclusive world is not a big deal. The Tang family was just labeling people as traitors because of what the others said. How could Tang Zi have endured all of this here for 20 years? If Tang Zi did not meet my mother, would Tang Zi still be alive now? Chapter 362. This is a setup 3. There was growing anger in Feng Ruqing when she thought of this. It was like she had swallowed a lot of gunpowder and it almost exploded. At first, Feng Ruqing disliked only Tang Luo. The 2 elders of the Tang family were snobbish, but it was normal. Feng Ruqing had no right to force others to sell the 5 spirit grass to her. But now, she not only disliked the Tang family, but she also had a sudden urge to destroy the Tang family because of Tang Zi. Little girl, you're being arrogant. You're only a girl from the secular world. You have no right to humiliate our reclusive world. Tang Wu moved fast and soon he was above Feng Ruqing's head. He could see nothing and accept nothing. He fixed his cold eyes on Feng Ruqing. He smiled and sneered. Feng Ruqing still remained calm under this strong pressure. She raised her eyes calmly. Her eyes seemed to be deep in thought. Dark Warrior Tier, the elder from the Tang family, is at Dark Warrior Tier. Stop. Tang Yi was angry. He attacked Tang Wu with a palm directly. Tang Sai wanted to go and help, but he was stopped by Tang Tang Luo saw that Tang Yi wanted to stop Tang Wu and his eyes soon darkened. He said, Tang Yi, don't you want to know where Tang Zi is now? Tang Luo said those words calmly and he successfully distracted Tang Yi for a second. When Tang Yi recovered his senses and he wanted to stop the attack, but it was already too late. Tang Wu's attack soon fell on Feng Ruqing strongly. Tang Wu still could not see any fear in Feng Ruqing up until that moment. It was just a fearless and sarcastic smile on her face. Everybody in this world was afraid of death. But there was only a type of person who would never bow down even if they were going to die. Tang Wu was stunned. He never thought that Feng Ruqing was that stubborn. But she never should cling on to young Master Nanxian and destroy the Tang family's arranged marriage. Suddenly, a soft wind blew and Tang Yin turned her body toward Tang Wu. She hugged Feng Ruching tightly and she looked pale. Her eyes were closed. Little lady. Qian Ning was in time to see that dangerous scene when she reached there. There was deep fear in her eyes and she could not help but cry. Yinna, run away faster. Tang Wu saw that Tang Yin chose to stand against his attack and he soon felt nervous. He shouted immediately, quickly go, hurry. It was too late. Tang Wu could not retract his attack. There was deep fear in Tang Wu and he seemed quite pale. All the others were anxious and in despair. They thought that Tang Yin liked Feng Ruching just a little bit because she had never made any friends. This kind of feeling was only temporary and it would soon be forgotten. So, they would choose to attack Feng Ruching even though Tang Yin was present. But, nobody could have guessed that Tang Yin would protect Feng Ruching like that. That was a love which was so strong that life was disregarded. Boom. Suddenly, a white light emerged from Feng Ruching's body. It was like a halo and it covered the two of them in that light. Tang Wu's attack fell on the outside of that halo and rebounded. Tang Wu's body was flung away and he fell onto the ground. There was a seemingly holy light on the young girl's face in the halo. She squatted down slightly and she hugged the little lowly back. Her hands were gentle and she patted Tang Yin's back. It's fine, Xiao Yin. We're fine. Tang Yin's body shook heavily. It seemed that she was frightened just now. Chapter 363. The Tang family is finished if she is hurt. Although Tang Yin was so frightened that she might collapse any minute, she still chose to protect Feng Ruching no matter what. All the others were stunned but they subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Tang Yin came from the Tang family and she was the hope of the Tang family's future. So, she must live. However, they saw that there was a blurry shadow in front of the halo when they calmed down. The man wore white clothes and he was handsome. He had a cold aura about him and he looked like a clean and pure lotus. There was a heavy silence in Tang Manor. It was pin-drop silence. All the others' eyes fell on the blurry image in front of Feng Ruching. There was deep fear in their eyes. Young Master Nanxian? Tang Luo was stunned. She did not know why young Master Nanxian was here. No, it did not seem right. It was not the real young Master Nanxian but a mirage. Everybody understood now. But, even so, that image still represented young Master Nanxian. That man seemed calm and serene. His beautiful voice was the voice of the devil now. All the people of the Tang family panicked. If I do not see Qing'er back home safe and sound in 3 days, I'll kill the whole Tang family. He stopped talking for a while before continue talking. I don't want her to lose even one strand of hair. I know very well how much hair Qing'er has. I'll count her hair when she's back. If she loses even a strand of hair, the Tang family will cease to exist. Feng Ruching kept quiet. Tang Yin, who was shaking just now, also remained silent. The whole of the Tang family did not know what to say. Tang Yi was the first one to recover his senses. Although he was disappointed that Tang Yin could not be Nanxian's wife, it seemed that Tang Yin had found someone she loved. Moreover, the person she loved was Nanxian's woman. Hence, Tang Yin would always be protected by them. It was not much different from what he had wished before. Tang Yi could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Nanxian's mirage disappeared after he finished talking. Tang Luo stood there helplessly. He looked in the direction where the image of Nanxian had just disappeared. Is Feng Ruching really Nanxian's woman? Tang Luo clenched his fist. He thought of that possibility. His facial expression worsened and it was an ugly sight. But, he was not so daring as to want to attack Feng Ruching again. The Tang family had spent quite a lot of effort in order to make Tang Yin fall in love with Nanxian. They had always talked about Nanxian's gentleness and kindness. But, nobody knew about Nanxian's true characteristics. They did not guess that Nanxian was that cruel and cold just by looking at his handsome face. Tang Wu was in despair and he was laying on the ground. It's over now. Feng Ruching is really Nanxian's woman. I attacked Nanxian's woman just now. This is a misunderstanding. Tang Sai wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. He smiled and said, Lady Feng, our Tang family did not mean that. It was done out of the provocation of others. We have misunderstood. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes. Her calm gaze fell on Tang Sai. A misunderstanding? She raised her hand and a sword appeared out of the air in her hand. The sword cut at Tang Sai's arm and the blood gushed out quickly. Tang Sai was a dark warrior now. Feng Ruqing would never beat him in a fight. But, who was daring enough to want to attack Feng Ruqing now? If she plucked out her hair intentionally and blamed it on the Tang family, young Master Nanxian would surely make the Tang family disappear from the face of the earth. Tang Sai decided to endure the pain as long as Feng Ruqing could release her anger. Feng Ruqing stood up and her face showed no emotions. My attack was a misunderstanding too. I hope that you won't mind. She attacked again when she was finished talking. Tang Sai subconsciously avoided the attack this time. He did not want to endure another attack. He was unable to avoid the attack when he saw that Feng Ruqing had opened her sleeve and was looking for her own hair. Tang Sai was so frightened that his body froze and did not dare to move an inch. Chapter 364, Feng Rushuang. Tang Sai's body was flung away from the sword's attack. The blood on his chest dirted his clothes. His face was pale. He fell backward in an awkward manner. Both Tang Wu and Tang Luo were stunned looking at that scene. They saw that Feng Ruqing had thrown her glances over at them. They soon felt that there was cold air rushing toward their heads. They could not even move their feet. Yinna, Tang Wu almost burst into tears. Quickly tell Lady Feng how we have treated you all these years. Now, we know that it really was a misunderstanding. Can you ask her to stop given that we have taken care of you all these years? Tang Yin was stunned at first. She was skeptical. Then, her hesitance became helplessness. And you are? Tang Wu's old face froze at that. He could not even bring himself to smile just a bit. It was a waste, how he had treated Tang Yin all these years. He had treated her nicely. But, Tang Yin refused to admit her relation with him. Feng Ruqing held her sword in her hand and walked toward Tang Wu slowly. Xiao Qing. Tang Yin was angry. This old man was really too wicked. How dare he tried to claim that Im related to him. Im from the Princess Manor. I have no relation with that old man. You need to teach him a lesson for me. Tang Yin was not one of them anymore when they had decided to attack Feng Ruqing. The Tang family's destiny has nothing to do with me now. Tang Wu was stunned. He looked at the approaching Feng Ruqing. He was in fear and his legs were shaking. Lady Feng, we can talk this out. The attack came at him and Tang Wu did not dare to resist for fear that Feng Ruqing would go on and pluck out her own hair. So, Tang Wu endured the attack and it fell on his shoulders. Blood gushed out and his entire sleeves were covered in blood. This attack is for Tang Yin's sake. You have chosen Feng Yun Manor instead of her. Another attack came again. This attack is for how you dreamt of marrying my state preceptor to another person. This attack is for how snobbish the Tang family is. You forced Yinna to do the things that she did not like without asking her opinion. And this attack is for how you tried to attack me just now. Feng Ruqing was able to protect herself without being killed by Tang Wu. But, Tang Yin came to protect her without bothering for her own life. Feng Ruqing could protect herself well but she could not guarantee that she could protect Tang Yin too. If the state preceptor had not given her a jade pendant, Tang Yin would have been handicapped for the rest of her life even if she was not dead from the attack just now. The last attack, Feng Ruqing closed her eyes. After a while, she opened her eyes and they were cold and distant. Is because, you nearly harmed Xiao Yin just now. Tang Wu was injured badly after those 5 attacks. He was covered in blood and his clothes were torn now. Tang Luo was no better. His messy hair fell onto his shoulders and his fists were clenched tightly. He felt that there was no energy left in him. He could not even resist the attack when he was facing with that fierce lady. And, he could not resist. In fact, luckily all of them were dark warriors. Feng Ruqing's attack could harm them seriously but they would not be killed. This was the difference in the level of cultivation. But, she had the time. She had enough strength to cultivate so that she would be able to destroy the Tang family completely. Tang Yin opened her eyes and looked at Feng Ruqing in shock. Her eyes brightened. Her Xiao Qing was so cool. It made her heart pound so uncontrollably fast. Thump, thump, Feng Ruqing walked toward Tang Luo. She raised her cold eyes and looked at the man in front of her, emotionlessly. Chapter 365, Feng Rushuang? Tell me now. Who told you about my relationship with Nanxian? Tang Luo inhaled helplessly. A disciple of the Tang family rescued a woman a few days ago. That woman seemed to be running away from the barracks. She's called Feng Rushuang and it's she who had told me. Feng Rushuang. Feng Ruqing's eyes darkened. Feng Rushuang was kept at the border of the kingdom for a few months. She should be staying there. Why did she run away? Did something happen there? Feng Ruqing was subconsciously rather nervous. She could not suppress this feeling and her facial expression turned sour. Where's Feng Rushuang? Feng Ruqing's eyes turned cold as she asked. Tang Luo turned and looked at the maid who had delivered the message just now. The maid kneeled on the floor out of fear. Master, Lady Rushuang's injuries have healed. So, she left the Tang family after telling me about that incident. Tang Shan went away with her too. Tang Shan? Feng Ruqing's eyes narrowed. Isn't Tang Shan the one who went after Tang Zi that year? Didn't he want to kill Tang Zi then? It was he who had saved Feng Rushuang. A few months ago, Qin Chen wanted to rescue Feng Ruqing at the Forest of Spirit Beasts when she was being taken away by Tiger Mama. If not, they would never have let Tang Shan got away. I never expected that he would be with Feng Rushuang now. Xiao Yin, were heading back to Liu Yun Kingdom. Feng Ruqing was rather anxious and nervous. Feng Ruqing felt that there might be something wrong given that Feng Rushuang had run away. Liu Yun Kingdom might face some problems. Xiao Qing, let's go. Tang Yin was thinking about the Princess Manor now. There was excitement all over Tang Yin's face after knowing that they were going back to the Princess Manor. She smiled happily. Feng Ruqing's heart was heavy like a stone was pressed onto it. She felt that there were some unfinished business in the Tang family. But, she knew that her father was waiting for her and she was rather anxious about that. She nodded slightly, then she turned and walked to the front yard. Feng Ruqing did not see that someone was just descending from the mountain when Feng Ruqing turned and walked away. That woman's face looked like Feng Ruqing's and even her sickness could not hide how beautiful she was. Her plain clothes moved with the wind. She seemed both graceful and elegant. Rong Yang looked at the girl's back. Suddenly, there was an explosion in her head. Her heart felt like it was being hit by a hammer. It was painful and her body shook vigorously. No. Don't go. Rong Yang was turned as pale as snow. She was anxious and nervous. She wanted to stop Feng Ruqing from leaving. But, her body was too weak. She fell down as she took a step forward. Tang Luo mentioned that she could not meet Feng Ruqing for fear that she might transmit her own diseases to Feng Ruqing. But, she still decided to come and meet Feng Ruqing. She just wanted to look at her from afar. She wanted to know why a name could make her heart grieve so much. Her heart was like being pricked by a needle when she saw Feng Ruqing's silhouette, even if it was only from the back. There was endless pain and guilt in her. She wanted to make Feng Ruqing stay. She wanted to give Feng Ruqing all the most beautiful things in the world. Feng Ruqing did not notice the person behind her. She held Tang Yin's hand and walked toward the lobby. No. Rong Yang wanted to make a sound desperately, but it seemed like her throat was being blocked by something. She could only make a sound so small, like the sound of an ant. It was shaky and hoarse. It did not make any difference to anybody. Don't go. I beg you. Don't go. Bring me along if you want to go. Chapter 366. Please turn and look at me. There were tears running down Rong Yang's cheek and a hint of deep sadness in her eyes. She wanted to rush forward desperately. She did not understand the situation. But, she knew that she wanted to stop Feng Ruqing from leaving. But, the distance between her and Feng Ruqing was just too far. She used up all her energy and still she could not stop Feng Ruqing from leaving. Yanga! Suddenly, a gentle voice was heard. He hugged Rong Yang, who nearly fell down again. Rong Yang neither liked or hated Tang Luo before. But a sense of hatred rose in her heart now. She used her hands to push Tang Luo away harshly. Let go. Let go of me. If you do not let go of me, my daughter will leave soon. She'll never come back. Yang, you're sick again. Tang Luo frowned and sighed softly. Let me bring you back to rest. No. I'm not sick. There was a kind of madness in Rong Yang now. Her tears blurred her eyes. She reached her hand in the direction where Feng Ruqing had just left. Tears kept streaming down her beautiful face. Don't go, Qing'er, my daughter. Don't go, my daughter. Please turn and look at me. Just take a look at me. I'm right behind you. Tang Luo's eyes soon became cold and distant. Yang, both of your son and daughter are dead. Rong Yang's body froze. Finally, she turned and looked at Tang Luo. What did you say? Tang Luo hugged Rong Yang's body tightly and he did not allow her to struggle or move. I didn't tell you that both of your son and daughter were killed by your husband. He killed his own children. I didn't tell you because I was afraid that you couldn't take it. Rong Yang was stunned. She pushed away Tang Luo desperately. No. She's my daughter. She is my daughter. Go away. I want to go, boom. Tang Luo raised his hand suddenly and hit Rong Yang at the back of her neck. Rong Yang's body weakened and she fell into Tang Luo's embrace weakly. There was a bottomless pit of sadness in Tang Luo's eyes. He held her up at the waist. The woman's hair fell and covered her beautiful but pale face. I'm sorry, Yang. I have done wrong at first. I couldn't help but continue what I have started. I had no choice because I did not want you to leave. He would use up all his strength just to not let her leave no matter what. Feng Ruqing subconsciously stopped walking. She turned around and her gaze fell on the mountain at the back of the manor. There was a woman in Tang Luo's embrace. That woman wore plain clothes and her hair was loose. Her face was hidden by Tang Luo and Feng Ruqing could not see her face. What happened? Tang Yin looked at Feng Ruqing surprisingly. Then, she looked in the direction where Feng Ruqing had fixed her eyes on. She looked at Tang Luo and blinked. Tang Luo must be carrying the woman he kidnapped 10 years ago. That woman did not come down from the mountain for the past 10 years. Why did she come down today? Feng Ruqing frowned slightly. Her hands were on her chest. Her heart beat so fast without reason. That's right. That woman seems to be mad. It looks as if she had lost a son and a daughter and she couldn't take it. I wanted to go and look at her once but I was caught by Tang Sai. He punished me for that. So, I'm always curious as to what kind of woman could make Tang Luo that desperate. He even drove her mad. Was she really mad because of the loss of her son and daughter? That's what Tang Yu said. Tang Yin still felt that Tang Luo kidnapped that woman because of her beauty. He had even driven her mad. Chapter 367, Rong Yang's madness. Her children are gone? Feng Ruqing did not know why she wanted to know about that incident but she asked anyway. Tang Yin shook her head. I'm not sure about that too. But, Tang Luo said that she seems to be mad. So, nobody in the Tang family is allowed to go to that mountain. Rong Yang had come to the Tang family for 10 years now. Tang Yin had never even met her once. The elders in the Tang family did not allow Tang Yin to go to the mountain because of that. It was a loss when Tang Yin thought of that. Feng Ruqing felt some kind of sadness in her heart. She lowered her eyes and there was a bitter smile on her face. She has lost her children and I have no mother. We're quite alike in that way. So, I can't lose my father too. Feng Ruqing did not stay there for long. She turned away from Rong Yang and turned to walk toward the entrance of the Tang Manor. Her eyes seemed cold and distant when she turned and walked away. She would definitely take revenge on the Tang family for what they had done to Tang Zi. She would bring Tang Zi and walk into the Tang family just like they owned the place. They would get back at them for what the Tang family had done. There was a woman in white sitting cross-legged at the top of the mountain. The white phoenix beside her raised its head and looked at her from time to time. There was gentleness in its beautiful eyes. Suddenly, the white phoenix felt upset when it felt a presence nearby. It quickly got up and stared at that godlike body angrily. Su Yi also noticed something and opened her eyes. She smiled slightly and looked at Nanxian. Are you descending the mountain today? Nanxian nodded. Yes, Qing'e is still waiting for me. Then, quickly go now. Don't let her wait for you for too long. All right. Nanxian frowned slightly. He seemed to be using his calm voice subconsciously. I need to leave Shenyun Mountain now because Qing'e is facing some troubles. Su Yi frowned slightly. Trouble? The Tang family wants to attack Qing'e. His calm eyes fell on Su Yi. It was calm as usual. Su Yi's finger stroked at the white phoenix beside her. She seemed to be talking to herself. The Tang family? It seemed that the person who wanted to find a fiancé for Nanxian also came from the Tang family. Now, the Tang family wanted to attack Nanxian's woman. Nanxian. Su Yi's facial expression was gentle. She was as beautiful as an angel. Take this doo-doo and give it to her. Nanxian's gaze fell on Su Yi's hand slowly. There was a red doo-doo on her palm. The red doo-doo lied on her palm quietly. I made this by using the silk spun out by the spirit silkworms. I even asked the fire spirit wolf to roast it with its fire. Then, I immersed it in the holy water pond for half a month. It will protect her life in a dangerous situation. It will work for 3 times. Su Yi's eyes darkened when she talked about that doo-doo. Her eyes were cold. I made this doo-doo that time. He wanted to take it to give to his lover. I did not let him, so I hid it, and I never thought of taking it out for my whole life. But, I had no choice now. Nanxian held out his hand and took the doo-doo away. He smiled slightly. I'll thank you for Qing'e. Su Yi also smiled. This thing is useless to me. It's worth it if I give it to her. Nanxian said no more. He turned his gaze upon the white phoenix. The feathers of the white phoenix is so beautiful. Qing'e must be very happy if I pluck out its feathers to make clothes for her. Swoosh. The white phoenix was scared and it quickly got up. It hid behind Su Yi and glared at Nanxian angrily. Chapter 368. Rongyang's madness. Nanxian had never praised it before. So, as soon as it heard Nanxian words, it knew right off that he was a bastard who was up to no good. Nanxian, don't you always bully White Phoenix? Su Yi smiled helplessly and said, or else, it's going to cry again. The White Phoenix kept nodding. True, if Nanxian dares to bully it again, it will cry for him to see. Nanxian did not think much at first, but a light flashed in his calm eyes as soon as Su Yi finished her last sentence. Cry. Why don't I collect more tears for Qing'e? He had already emptied the White Phoenix's secret chamber of treasures. If he wanted to make it cry, the only way to do it was to go with the feather that it had always been proud of. Well, Nanxian slightly cocked his eyebrows. I can stop bullying it, but someone's bullying Qing'e, and I feel terrible about it. Su Yi frowned a little and turned to look at the White Phoenix. Nanxian's right, White Phoenix. The little girl is being bullied. You, as our family member, don't you want to offer something to protect that little girl? The White Phoenix was so angry that it stomped the ground with its feet. Its treasure, all of its baby treasures had been ransacked by Nanxian. What else could it offer to help? However, Su Yi's last sentence had struck the White Phoenix's heart as every of its grudge had been swept off in a minute. Family member. Su Yi said that it was their family member. Did not that imply Su Yi had already accepted it as one of their family members? The White Phoenix was so happy as its little PP was erect. It poked around for half a day and finally, it took out a feather and handed it to Nanxian. This is the most precious thing that you can get from me. If she lights up this feather, my doppelganger will show up right away. Even if I'm not capable of transforming into a human form now, it's not a problem for me to handle and deal with that so-called Tang family. Nanxian seemed calm. It was obvious that he was not satisfied with the present. However, he understood that the White Phoenix could not offer anything better anymore. He accepted the feather from the White Phoenix and gently replied, "This feather is considered to be usable. At least when Qing'e wants to destroy the Tang family, she need not stain her hand." It's good to have you in helping her on the cleaning part. The white phoenix went numb and then it got angry. Nanxian, you look down on me. This is the most exquisite feather from our white phoenix clan, as it can create a doppelganger of me. I've spent 20 years to get this one exquisite feather. Do you know how much power it has? Okay. Nanxian simply replied coldly, even though the white phoenix was furious. The white phoenix did not want to say anything anymore, as it felt that the situation was very unjust to him. Like mother, like son. Both of them were the kind of people could not carry a conversation. I'll go first. Nanxian turned back and looked at Su Yi. Take good care of yourself. Su Yi nodded. Off you go. Nanxian turned and looked away. That long snowy robe gradually faded away in those fluffy and mountain-like clouds. Blood was everywhere. In the blood-stained palace. The woman tightly gripped onto the quilt she was laying on the sandalwood bed. Her stunning face was pale and covered in tears. Your Empress, the old granny standing next to her, was so worried and said, the assassin was inside the palace, but no one could fight against the assassin. His Majesty wishes to deal with the assassin on his own, but no worries. Your Empress, His Majesty is strong and talented, he will be fine. His Majesty will be back after your Empress has given birth to the baby. The girl tightened her grip on the quilt then. Her pretty eyes were not only filled with anxiety but more anger deeper inside. How could that bunch of people come here? How could they ignore the rules and break them? Chapter 369, Rongyang's Madness 3. She felt resentful and helpless about it. She felt helpless because she did not know why she was forced to give birth to a baby at such a crucial moment. She hated it. She hated those people who were there to hurt the person she loved. There was a throbbing pain in her stomach. That pain was strong enough to turn her pale. The bedsheets and comforters were already wet with her cold sweat, also sticky enough. Your Majesty, it's over. The baby is a little princess. Congratulations, Empress. Oh, there's another one. A little prince. Bang. As soon as the old granny finished her words, a force surged up from Rongyang's neck, her mind went blank and then she passed out. The girl failed to notice what was happening as she was gently staring at both her babies. She kissed and caressed them in turn as her eyes seemed to look very reluctant to part with them. I'm sorry. Mother can no longer stay by your side in the future. I'm sorry. Mother cannot take care of you and watch you grow up. But your father, he will protect and take good care of you. Mother will try everything I can to protect and keep you safe. Suddenly, her world blacked out. The lovely little figures were slowly fading from her eyes. She started to panic. She fought so hard to reach for their little hands that were stretching out to her, even just for one more time, only if she could touch or kiss them again. However, no matter how hard she tried, she still failed to reach for their little hands. All she could do was helplessly watch everything around her fade into darkness. No. In the cabin, Rongyang was lying on the bed. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and felt great pain in her head, then she held her head tightly. Everything in the dream. What was happening exactly? Why did she feel like she had gone through all of these before? Who was she exactly? Where were her children? Yanga. Tang Luo, the person who was staying by Rongyang all the time, he stretched out his hands as he wanted to hug her as soon as she awoke. She pushed him away before he could get close to her. Go away. I want to find Chinga. I want to find my Chinga. She could not remember anything, but when she saw Feng Ruking's eyes, she knew it. She knew that was her daughter, the daughter that she had waited and missed for many years. That surge of excitement and happiness that she got as soon as she saw her, that was what life about. A life where she had gone through 10 months of pregnancy and had finally given birth to that daughter. Yanga, you're getting sick again. Tang Luo did not get angry but sighed as he could do nothing. I'm not sick, I told you I don't have any disease. Rongyang went completely mad. Her eyes were red with tears as she looked resentful, fierce, and annoyed. Yes, I was sick before, but that was because I'm sick of missing my children. I'm fully recovered now, she's my daughter and my love. I want to leave the Tang family. I want to look for her. Tang Luo frowned. The thing that he had always worried about was finally happening. He knew. He knew that it was not any good thing to let Feng Ruqing into Tang residence. That was why he tried all he could to not let Yang bump into her. But he had never thought of Yang, a woman who was always reluctant even to take a step to go out of the back hill, would leave the mountain and meet Feng Ruqing at that very moment. Yang, are you starting to remember? He asked again, quite hesitant. Rong Yang sneered. I may not remember who I am, but it's enough that I remember who she is. Nobody can stop me from finding my daughter. It seems like you haven't fully recovered yet. Tang Luo smiled as he walked toward Rong Yang. What you saw was only her back. You didn't even get to see her from her front. How can you be sure that she's your daughter? I think you should take a good rest. I'll call the doctor and check on your condition again. He had never seen that piercing cold expression before. Yang, I'm the one who loves you the most in this world. Tang Luo looked down. He was smiling as he stretched out his hand to hold Rong Yang to him. Nobody loves you more than I do. They will never love you more than I do in this world. Go away. Rong Yang roared and stretched out her hand to push Tang Luo away. She could not stand on her feet as she pulled herself away from his arms and almost fell. However, she was still reluctant to let Tang Luo get close to her, not even one step. Yang, I have tried not to harm you for years. Now, I will make you my woman and you will never be able to find him again for the rest of your life. His eyes were suddenly filled with hatred before they turned gentle again. His voice was as gentle and soft as water. He will not accept a fallen angel. No man can accept you except me. He could also ignore the fact that she had given birth to a baby. Only true love could be so tolerant. Therefore, no one in the world loved her more than him. Chapter 371. Why? Tang Luo stretched out his hand and pulled Rong Yang into his arms again. With a mighty force this time, he would never let her escape again. Rong Yang's body trembled heavily. Her heart was filled with deep anger and loath. It was like a volcano that would erupt any time. Yang, Tang Luo looked at the girl standing in front. He seemed to be beguiled, obsessed, and crazy. Rong Yang clenched her fists tightly as she closed her eyes. Another figure emerged in her mind then. Wearing a king's robe, the guy was handsome, gentle, and sophisticated. That was the memory embedded deep in her head. It was a guy whom she had forgotten for 10 years. However, he was the guy whom she would always meet in her dream at night. Although he looked blurry in the dream or was covered with a thin layer of mist, she could not control her heartbeats whenever he appeared. That intense feeling for him was the reason why she did not believe in Tang Luo's words. A man whom she would still love even though she had lost her memory. How could he hurt her? He must be the best husband in the world. Rong Yang opened her eyes. She looked overbearing, just like before, as she was the king that everyone would respect in the world. No more silliness, dumbness, or gentleness could be seen in her eyes. Go away. Bang. Suddenly, a mighty force exploded from her body. That force was startling enough to force Tang Luo to retreat immediately. His eyes were wild with shock. Splat. Rong Yang spat a mouthful of blood. She looked pale. She could stand on her feet, but needed the wall's support to steady herself as both of her legs could not stand straight anymore. Yang. Tang Luo finally came to his senses. I've told you, you're poisoned, you are weaker than before. But then you didn't care for your body and pushed me away using your power. You will hurt your body by doing so. The poison that he used would weaken her ability, but it was not harmful to her body. However, it was hard to say that the effects would remain the same if Yang was trying to do anything violent again. Rong Yang wiped away the blood from the corners of her lips and smirked. If you dare to touch me again, I'd rather us perish together. I will never let you taint me. Back then, she would rather die than to let the people from the Divine Herbs sect to touch her too. There was no difference now. Yang, are you starting to recall your past? Tang Luo frowned and asked. Yes. She did not recall anything when she woke up from the evil dream that day. Not until when Tang Luo was coercing her. Then the vague countenance started to reveal itself slowly and become clearer. It was at that very moment when she retrieved all of the memories that she had forgotten before. Divine Herbs Sect. The Tang family. Rong Yang clenched her fists tightly. She wanted to make all of the people, who stopped her family from reuniting, die. But don't you remember how good I have treated you for these past 10 years? Good. Rong Yang sneered. You're good to me, so you intentionally poisoned me when I was badly wounded to make me lose my memory? You're good to me, so you imprisoned me for 10 years when I was silly and idiotic? You're good to me, so you stopped me from meeting my daughter and even coerced me? She remembered everything. And she remembered how the Tang family had treated her for the past 10 years. Why was she reluctant to receive help from the little servant? Because she was not sober and ignorant enough that even a little servant would dare to bully and insult her. She was a person that would revolt, even though she was not as strong as before. She would still beat the little servant black and blue. For that reason, Tang Luo always thought that she would never let anyone step into the back hill when she would beat the innocent little servant who allowed someone to go there. Chapter 372. Why? 3. She did not allow the doctor to check her condition, because it was the doctor who had pricked her with needles even when she was healthy, never wanting to let go of her. She was afraid, loathful, and sick of dealing with them. So she hit the doctors. That was the reason why Tang Luo thought that she would rather stay ill than seek help from the doctors. And Tang Yu, the Gert who was the same age as Rong Yang's daughter, but a villainous and evil person. When Rong Tan was still dumb and missed her daughter so much, she pretended to be gentle as a strategy to trick her of her many spirit herbs. And she would turn against her after she got the spirit herbs from her. However, there was always some time when she was sober, no matter how dumb she was. Tang Yu had no chance to cheat her of her spirit herbs when she was sober, but then, she would provoke and remind her using her daughter's tale as a revenge for not giving her spirit herbs. However, although a lot of spirit herbs were cheated from her by Tang Yu, all the spirit herbs that were above grade 5 were firmly secured in her hand all the time. Because she had always understood well that, things that she kept for Chinga must never fall into anyone else's hand. No one. Yanga, I admit that I have failed you since the very beginning, but I have used 10 years to make up to you. Our whole Tang family is making up to you, isn't that enough? Tang Luo looked at Rong Yang as his heart ached. Rong Yang smiled coldly and stood up. Tang Jiao is making up to me. The little servant girl who bullied her, the injuries from the doctors, Tang Yu's cheating, these were all making up to me? Tang Luo's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Was there anything else that had happened in the past 10 years that he did not know? Rong Yang sneered. I can tell you why on earth you are inferior to him. When we got married, we were not strong enough, but we promised to support each other for the rest of our lives. Her voice turned from cold to gentle now. But there were so many women who wanted to marry him, also countless people who coerced him to take a concubine. He turned all of them down despite being under all the pressures. It was I who had persuaded him to take one of the concubines, only if he never pampers the girl, that's all I wanted. She had met all the women before they entered the palace. Also, she told them about Feng Qianyu's decision. They could live in the palace but were condemned to live a life of widowhood till the end. She could let them go if they did not want to. However, if they insisted on staying, they had no choice but to follow. If anyone dared to seduce Feng Qianyu, she would not sit back and let go of any of their mistakes. It would not matter if it was that woman herself or her family because the rest of their lives were doomed to be restless. She was ruthless because she did not allow her husband to sleep with other concubines. Also, she had given the women a chance to leave or stay from the very beginning. However, there were still women who wanted to enter the palace, so they could not blame her for being cruel. For this reason, Rong Yang's face turned even gentler as she was reminiscing the past. I have stirred up troubles with so many people, and they forced my husband to abandon me. But then, again, he survived through all the pressures and would never let anyone hurt me. And you? So many people did so many harmful things to me, they just did them right before your eyes. But do you even know that? Maybe it's because you're too arrogant, or you don't really love me that much, so you provided them with a chance to hurt me. But Feng Tianyu would never do that. She had never even suffered a single injury when he was beside her. He had always been keeping her safe and sound all the time. So in return, she was willing to defend the country for him. That's not what you think. Tang Luo finally panicked. He grabbed Rongyang's shoulder and said, I love you so much, I really do. I just don't know what had happened. Yang, please, believe me, I would never let go of anyone who had hurt you before, never. Chapter 373. Rongyang's wounds. The corners of Rongyang's lips lifted, and her smile became more and more scornful. She did not like the people who cry out and say they wanted to avenge her only after all the sufferings had ended. She only liked men like Feng Tianyu, that kind of man who would never let her get hurt in the first place. Tang Luo could not help but get mad when he saw Rongyang's eyes. Yang, Feng Ruqing has a half-sister. That man had betrayed you long ago. I am the only one who will not betray you. Oh, Rongyang seemed calm. So what? Tang Luo was stunned and in disbelief. You still want to forgive him despite it? Rongyang smiled and looked at Tang Luo. I trust him. He will never do that. She wanted them to stop talking about her trust toward Feng Tianyu. Back then, she already found out that someone had poisoned him before she left. It was a kind of poison that would make it impossible for Feng Tianyu to have an affair with any other woman in the bed, or else he would die immediately. But Feng Tianyu had been well alive since then, which implied that he had never pampered or got close with that concubine. Back then, she was the one who had secretly helped to stop the poison from invading Feng Tianyu. In doing so, her body weakened. She could not fully recover even though she was going to deliver a baby, and that was why it provided an opportunity for the people to attack her. Even if the poison was halted, it was still impossible for him to sleep with anyone. Therefore, every time Feng Tianyu wanted to go wild with her in bed, she would use the pregnancy as an excuse to turn him down. Therefore, it remained unknown where did the girl come from. Tang Luo's eyes were red and asked angrily, You trust him that much? He had betrayed you. How could you still trust him? Why? Yang, do you really love that man? He's a man from the secular world. Is he worthy of your love? I come from the so-called secular world, and our power match too. Why can't I be your man? Yang, I will never let go of you. I'll never do that in my life. Tang Luo grabbed Rongyang's wrist tightly and shook her violently. This woman gave her 10 years of happiness, but to abandon him now, how could she be so cruel? Just because of that little servant and the doctor who had done bad things to her? He did not take any action in the first place because he was ignorant. When he knew, he would definitely not let go of those people. Was that not enough to prove his love toward her? What the hell does she want him to do to prove his love? Bang! Suddenly, a spirit force came inside the cabin and crashed on Rongyang's chest violently. Rongyang's body had been initially weak. Under that spiritual force, she fell backward suddenly and hit her head on the wall. It was so painful that her scalp went numb and her face turned pale. Rongyang's hand was quivering. Was she weakened to such an extent? She was so weak that simply anyone could hurt her. Yua, what are you doing? Tang Luo frowned and asked as he turned around and saw Tang Yu standing there expressionlessly. Tang Yu sneered and said, Father, this woman already wishes to leave the Tang family now. Do you still want to let her do whatever she wants, just like before? Letting her roam at the back of the hill freely? If you really like her, you'd better tie this woman up before she runs away. Rongyang forced herself to stand up. She tried to gather a puff of spiritual force in her palms, but the force vanished just as it appeared. She tried again, but still, failed. Ahem. She coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. She looked at the Tang family's father and daughter, coldly. Tang Luo was shocked. He turned his head back and looked at Rongyang. Tie her up, how could he bear to do that? Father, you have spent 10 years on her, but she was never grateful. Instead, she is trying to drive a wedge between us. Father, don't you know well what kind of person I am? Because of you, I am willing to accept a crappy woman to be my mother. Isn't that enough to prove my sincerity? Chapter 374, Rong Yang's wounds. Tu Tang Luo remained silent. She only wants her husband and children back. Once you set her free, she will take an opportunity to leave unless you keep an eye on her day and night. Don't tell me that you have poisoned her and made her lose her memories. Don't you see that she has got her memory back now? What if she gets her power back too? Who else can stop her? Tang Yu looked malevolent. What a cheap woman Rong Yang, how could she have regained her memory? She could not let her go, or else she would lose her position as the lady of Fengyun Manor. She would not have had any attachment to the position if she had never owned it before. Since she had gotten the taste of the power of being a lady of the house, she never wanted to lose it again. After all, everyone from Fengyun Manor had already assumed that Rong Yang was already dead. She could make it real too. Tang Yu's eyes flashed with the intention of murdering her before Tang Luo could notice. Everything was fine when Rong Yang had no past memories at first. If someone was to blame, all they could blame was Rong Yang, who found her memory back, but not Tang Yu. She would not let anyone take away what was already in her hand. Tang Luo started to panic because Rong Yang was too strong. She was strong enough to make him afraid. So, he could not bear any chances of letting her restore her ability. Yang, I'm sorry, I would not have wanted to do so. Tang Luo closed his eyes in agony and opened them after a while. It's all right if you don't want to be my woman. We will just buy each other sides, and that's already enough. He did not ask for much. All he wanted was for Rong Yang to be with him for the rest of his life. Tang Yu sneered. She gradually took out a little purple flower. Feed her this. This will not only take away all of her spiritual power, but also it will make her lose her spiritual power completely. Also, it will make her unable to move and speak. Tang Luo's eyes turned wild with shock. It could also make her unable to speak. Purple wood flower, you should have heard of it before. Purple wood flower, isn't that a grade 5 spirit herb? How could Tang Yu have grade 5 spirit herbs in her hands? Rong Yang looked at the spirit herbs in Tang Yu's hand, her body went stiff as she clenched her fists tightly. No, that's not purple wood flower. It's purple kite flower. Purple wood flower and purple kite flower. It was hard to distinguish them as they looked very similar. However, one of the flowers was a grade 5 spirit herb, while the other one was a grade 6 spirit herb. Their pharmaceutic effects were different too. However, both of the flowers were toxic. The former one had the effects just like what had Tang Yu mentioned. However, the latter one not only consists of the same effect as the former one, but also, it would dehydrate a person day by day until the body became a dry corpse. As for how she knew it so well, it was because the purple kite flower originally belonged to her. She had put it in Fengyun Manor's treasury vault. How could it end up in Tang Yu's hands? Rong Yang suddenly panicked. She seemed to remember that there was a time when she had accidentally taken out Fengyun Manor's token. However, she had forgotten to keep it back. Did she hide it under the quilt? As soon as Rong Yang thought of this, she quickly staggered to the wooden bed and unfolded the quilt right away. However, the bed was empty, nothing could be found. Fengyun Manor's token was gone. Rong Yang stared at Tang Yu angrily. Her body was shaking, her beautiful eyes burned with a flame. Tang Yu was not afraid of her as the corners of her lips lifted coldly. Father, what I hold in my hand is purple wood flower. It's already not easy for me to get grade 5 spirit herbs. Do you think I'm capable of finding and getting grade 6 spirit herbs? It's only because she's afraid, so she reacted like that on purpose so that she can stop you from feeding her the medicine. Chapter 375, Rong Yang's wounds. 3 Tang Luo could not become the master of the Tang family if he were foolish. However, he could not think rationally as his heart had gone mad. He was too afraid that Rong Yang would leave him. He would do anything to make her stay. Good. Even if Rong Yang could detox herself from the poison that he had given to her years ago, it must be impossible for her to detox herself from the violet wood bloom's poison. Father, I know you cannot stand to do it. Why don't you let me help you? Tang Yu smiled and said, you may leave first. Tang Luo's eyes sank in pain. The violet wood bloom was too poisonous. He really could not stand seeing her taking that poison. So, he did not say anything as he looked at Rong Yang guiltily. Then, he turned and walked out, leaving only Rong Yang and Tang Yu in the room. Aunt Rong. Tang Yu gently smiled and walked toward Rong Yang. I can see that you cannot even stand on your feet. Stop fighting. Do you think that useless people like you can be my opponent? You just pushed my father away, and I guess you've used up all your power so you can do nothing to me now. It was apparent that Tang Yu had returned for quite a while and heard many of their conversations. Oh, speaking of which, I am the lady of Fengyun Manor right now. Don't worry, I will inform the people of Fengyun Manor that it was your own daughter who had poisoned you. Tang Yu smirked. My words, the people in Fengyun Manor will. Rong Yang's eyes were cold. They will not believe you. I will make them believe. Tang Yu pursed her little lips haughtily. The bunch of fools in Fengyun Manor, they are very easy to trick. It's such a waste if I don't make use of them. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you that your taste in names is really terrible. Fengqing Court. What a disgusting name to hear, so I have changed it into Fengyu Court. Well, that is the court that you had prepared for me, so for sure, it has to be named after me. Rong Yang clenched her fists tightly. Her breath was starting to turn erratic too. Aunt Rong, thank you. Thank you for putting in such an effort into building Fengyun Manor and all the power and status that come together for me, also a Fengyu Court for me too. I can't thank you enough for that. From now on, I will never tell anyone from the Tang family that you were sponging our Tang family too. Oh, by the way, throughout these 10 years, I have lied to father that because you're not in good condition, you need something throughout these 10 years. I told him that you need the spirit herbs as a medication. So, he was very assured to entrust me with the spirit herbs and serve you. Well, the truth is, I have eaten all the spirit herbs. Then, I told everyone in the Tang family that father was pampering you by serving you with spirit herbs every day. Therefore, everyone from the Tang family hates you very much as none of them wants you to be alive. To keep a freeloader in our family, what's the point? Although the spirit herbs were not as precious as the one that she had cheated from Rong Yang, still, even a little ant has its own meat too. It was natural for her to benefit from eating more spirit herbs. And Rong Yang was doomed to hold the bag for her. Well, Rong Yang deserved this because she did not want to hand over the storage bag to her. Rong Yang gritted her teeth, and resolutely refused to swallow the violet milvus bloom. Tang Yu seemed wicked and tried to force the violet milvus bloom into her mouth. Her gums were bleeding. Tang Yu had poked them with her nails. The sap of the violet milvus bloom had filled her mouth and gotten to her wounds, immediately invading her body through her wounds. Tang Luo was still worried, so he came back immediately after he had left. He pushed open the door, and he saw Tang Yu holding Rong Yang's body. Tang Yu cried out sadly, Aunt Rong, I really like you, I'm afraid that you would leave, so I have no choice but to feed you the violet wood bloom. Please don't blame me. I really don't want to part with you. Chapter 376. A hero can shed no tears. Only blood-eye Tang Luo saw Tang Yu's painful expression and relented. His daughter liked Yang, just like him. It was Yue who had accompanied Yang when he had no time to be by her side throughout all these years. So, how could Yue want to bully Yang? In fact, she loved her so much. Or else, Yue could just refuse to accept Yang, but why did she try everything she could to make her stay? It seemed that Yang had misunderstood because Yue was not treating her in the way wanted, just like how Yang misunderstood him as well. Yue, it's all right. Tang Luo went up to Tang Yu and patted her on her shoulder. Father knows that you are too fond of her, but you have no choice to come up with this idea. I feel you. Just like what you worry about, I was afraid that she would leave too. Rong Yang seemed to be lost in her own mind as she looked on blankly. Just like a soulless person, her eyes were blank. Tang Yu looked down as she grinned. She did not want to take away Rong Yang's life immediately because she was afraid that father would find out that she was up to something. So, she decided to use violet milvus bloom and let the time slowly take her away. Yang. Tang Luo walked up to Rong Yang painfully as his eyes were filled with guilt. One day, you will know who's the one who loves you the most in the world. He did not get any reply from her even though he waited for a long time. It was because the woman before him was unable to open her mouth and speak any more. He finally sighed and gradually stood up. Yua, take good care of her for now. Okay. Tang Yu, with tears in her eyes, nodded. As she saw Tang Luo walk out of the cabin, something cold flashed in Tang Yu's eyes as she hurried out. Father. Tang Yu's voice made him stop as he was just about to walk out of the cabin. Tang Luo looked back at her and asked, Yua, is there anything else? Father, Tang Yu's eyes seemed malicious. She has remembered everything now. We can only let her stay with us forever by killing her relatives. No. Tang Luo's face had suddenly changed. Never lay a finger upon them. Tang Yu seemed surprised and asked, why? Why not? Tell me a reason, father. Tang Luo's lips seemed to reflect a sense of bitterness. Tang Yu thought he was willing to tolerate. He could let go of her past, but still, Feng Ruqing was her daughter. The presence of this woman was like a thorn in his heart. A thorn that would always remind him of a man who had all the happy times with her before. Also, to make her give birth to a child for him willingly. He was not some kind of generous or tolerant person. He was only generous to Rong Yang but not other people. He could not make himself ignore and pretend to see nothing of it. However, Feng Ruqing was Nanxian's woman. He wished he could never see Feng Ruqing in his life again, but what could he do with her? Yua, stop involving yourself in this matter again. We, the Tang family, is a reclusive family. Back then, we have set the rules that people from the reclusive world will never interfere with the secular world. This is a rule that even the Divine Herbs sect would never dare to violate. Tang Luo sighed. Many years ago, there were not so many rules in Kangyu mainland. Those who were not strong enough were doomed to die. But just a few decades ago, a strong man came out of nowhere and forced the reclusive world to sign the agreements with the secular world that had been oppressed for countless years. As a condition, he must remain in that place for the rest of his life, as he was never allowed to return to the secular world anymore. Tang Yu tried to conceal her wickedness. Father, I understand. Chapter 377. A hero can shed no tears, only blood too in Liu Yun Kingdom. Not far above the hills. Feng Rushuang stood in the valley, as the corner of her lips lifted into some kind of sneer. It seemed like she could see the imperial city was in the storm of war from such a height. A few days before, several countries had invaded the borders of Liu Yun Kingdom. She had escaped while the Nalan family and their warriors defended the border. How could anyone know that she would be in danger during her journey? If it was not for the Tang family's Tang Shan who had rescued her, she would have died. Luckily, she followed Tang Shan back to the Tang family. Then, she found out that Nanxian was the fiancé of the lady of the Tang family. However, such an excellent man would only fall for her. That day when she was sent to the border, a cold-hearted man was there to send her. Feng Ruqing, eventually, you will still lose to me. Feng Rushuang's eyes were filled with pride. She thought of what her mother had said to her the day before she left. Nanxian liked her. It was only because Feng Ruqing was clinging on to Nanxian that he had had a bad impression of her too. However, eventually, when Nanxian knew that she and Feng Ruqing were not the same kind of people, he had gradually fallen in love with her. She had returned for some reason. One was to take revenge, another one was to be Nanxian's wife. She planned not to forgive Nanxian for quite a while at first, as a punishment to treating her that badly when they were in southern bamboo forest back then. However, she could not help missing him as her feelings had surpassed all of her grief. So, she made the final decision to forgive him fully. As a matter of fact, Feng Rushuang had sneaked away as soon as she said those words when she was in the Tang family. She did not notice Nanxian's shadow. Also she was aware that Feng Ruqing, who was initially doomed to die, had come back alive. Lady Feng. Tang Shan was behind Feng Rushuang. He leered at the delicate body of the little girl in front of him and slightly smiled. Let's go. Okay. Feng Rushuang looked disgusted even though she did not look back at the man who stood behind her. In this world, only a divine man like the state preceptor was qualified to be with her. She would have dumped him long ago if she had not been worrying about facing any new danger. Within Liu Yun Kingdom. Beyond the gate, dead bodies were strewn all over the places. The gate was stained with blood. All the people who had been waiting to enter the city were killed with all kinds of weapons. Only a few lucky survivors were crying while holding the corpses of their loved ones. They were trembling under the sword of the soldiers. Liu Yunxiao put a hand on his back and stood high in the air. His old cowardly pale face had changed into a condescending smiling face. Just like a dominant superior in his high position, he looked down at the group of struggling ants one below. Nalan Hu, stop your useless fight back. Today, I have brought along 10 spirit warriors. You are no longer my opponent anymore. Back then, he was the one where Nalan Hu had stomped on. Whenever he saw General Nalan and his people, all he could do was hide in the shell like a tortoise. He could not be any more inferior. But now, the inferior one had already been replaced by Nalan Hu. What an unprecedented pleasure. He could not help but burst out laughing as if he wanted to vent out all of his frustrations and humiliations that he had been bearing for decades. Nalan Hu was angry and pale. He quickly escaped from the long sword held by the people in front of him. His old face was pale as his eyes scintillated anger. Liu Yunxiao, as a courtier of Liu Yun Kingdom, how dare you to team up with other strong countries and enemies to invade our Liu Yun Kingdom? Except for Long Ao Kingdom, which had been destroyed, all the other strong ones had gathered up here. Chapter 378, A Hero Can Shed No Tears. Only blood 3. No matter how strong Liu Yun Kingdom was, it was impossible to fight against the siege of 4 nations. Also, there were already 5 people who had reached the advanced spirit warrior tier among the spirit warriors. Liu Yun Kingdom without Nalan Yang is a kingdom that cannot withstand even a single blow. An old man dressed in purple sneered at the sky and punched Nalan Hu's chest. Nalan Hu could only defend the attack from behind. He was unable to avoid any other attack, so the punch had immediately made him spit blood. His old body was forced to take several steps backward. Master Qin's eyes were red as he growled anxiously, "Old General." Master Nalan crawled up from the ground. He stood with his back straight, and his eyes looked fierce. No one could defy him. Liu Yunxiao, even if I, Nalan Hu, were to be buried in this imperial city today, the Nalan family's blood and allegiance would never be defeated. The border was in danger in the past 2 days. Zhongqian and Jing'e were sent to the frontier. It was lucky for them not to be in the imperial city at that time. He hoped that the 2 boys would not return as the news spread outside the palace. If the Nalan family's blood still existed, their soul of loyalty would never be defeated. For those who stepped into the land of Liu Yun Kingdom, one day they would pay the price. Liu Yunxiao laughed. Nalan Hu, who do you think it was who had made up the frontier crisis? What awaits them at the border is hell. You, the Nalan family, are doomed to be history. At first, after Liu Yunxiao spoke, he thought that Nalan Hu would be in deep grief and rather die than to live. But the old man's face was very calm since the beginning. It was so calm that his face barely moved. You are wrong. The disciples and followers of the Nalan family are all over the world. Even if Jing'e, Changqian, and I are dead, there will still be someone to stand up against you. For the people of the Nalan family, you can never finish killing us no matter how hard you try. Ha ha ha. Nalan Hu burst into a wild, arrogant laugh. The smile was just as powerful as his unyielding spirit, a spirit which could astound anyone. One day, they will take over my place to defend and protect our country and frontiers. His eyes were burning with wild flame and murderous spirit, and he grinned as he was looking at Liu Yunxiao condescendingly. If you're afraid, get on your knees and kowtow to seek forgiveness from the innocent people you've killed. You kneel until the world forgives you. What a damned bastard to ally with the foreign enemy and kill the defending soldiers. Even those normal people who were waiting to enter the city did not stand a chance to escape from the killing talon as well. How innocent were those people? Crying hysterically and despairingly, a woman held a girl's corpse in her arms. Liu Yunxiao suddenly lifted his hand and clasped the woman to him. He tightly grasped the woman's neck with his fingers and looked at Nalan Hu with a cold smile. If you love all of this rubbish so much, kneel before me right now. Otherwise, I will slaughter the whole city and use the blood from all of the people to worship my wrath." Naylan, whose old eyes were red. He turned purple with rage and said, "Liu Yunxiao, I'm the one whom you've always hated. They are just ordinary people without any strength or weapons. What's the difference between you and a beast by doing so?" Swoosh. With a strong grip, Liu Yunxiao broke the woman's neck. He flung the woman's corpse to the ground and sneered. "In this mainland, the fittest survive, and the ordinary ones, how could they have the right to live and waste the food?" All the people from Liu Yun Kingdom had gone completely mad by looking at Liu Yunxiao's cruel behavior. The people of the iron-blooded army clutched on their weapons tightly as their eyes burned with anger. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.